What are you at? Good morning. It's Paul from Wicked Acorn. We had a little hiccup there this morning. False start. Today we're going to look at another of Rick's videos. Rick Ainsworth was with us yesterday and we had a great visit and learned a lot of things about how to make our live stream work with two people because we want to get four of us here to do a live stream about the mill in Ashton-upon-Mersey. Anyway, that's another story. This morning we're going to look at another of Rick's videos, and I didn't have a lot to do with this video, but I was a cameraman and a participant, and we had a wonderful visit with the Quakers in Sale. Very interesting, very interesting. I didn't know anything about the Quaker religion before the visit. And the reason this video came to mind is because today is George Bradshaw's birthday. He was born this day in history in 1800. Now, a lot of people know who George Bradshaw is, but I didn't before I moved here. Quite famous in his day and quite famous several times over after his death. And he came into popularity again when there's George Bradshaw. He came into popularity again recently with a TV show. And I didn't see this TV show, and I guess that's why a lot of people uh, know about him, is because of this TV program. And it was, you can see he's holding a book very tightly to his chest because that's what this program was all about. It was about George Bradshaw's famous railway guide. I'll show you a better picture of it here. This one is, I guess he did several different places. That one happens to be London. And it was just the best picture I could find of one. There are all kinds of them apparently of different places that he made guides of, and he it's very interesting because he was born in Pendleton, um, in Salford, and 29th of July 1800, Windsor Bridge, Pendleton, Lancashire. Uh, and he died on the 6th of September. His family are buried here in Sale. He lived in Sale in the latter part of his life, and his family lived here. His family are buried in the Sale Quaker Friends Cemetery, and he died abroad in Norway, in what's now Oslo. And it blows me away, this story. George Bradshaw is somebody I want to do a video about, but so I don't know a lot about him right now, only like surface information. And he contracted cholera when he was abroad in Oslo. Contracted cholera, and when he first started showing symptoms, 8 hours later he was dead. Now, that's how deadly cholera was. It was wow, like so many people succumbed to this disease, and he died. I'm from Withenshaw. What made you stay in Manchester? The lovely weather, the lovely weather, and that sounds like a joke, but the weather is much better here than where I came from in Canada, and the neighbors have really ruined things in Canada. But that's my wife got a job here, and while she was actively looking for a job in this country, we wanted to move to this country. So it wasn't specifically Manchester. We wanted to move to this country, but she got a job in Manchester, and what a great place we found here in Sale to live. That is from A to B. Is that your? That's yeah. Okay, that's your channel name. Okay. Yeah. So that's why we ended up here in Sale in Greater Manchester. And George Bradshaw was a resident of Sale as well. And we're going to look at a video that I didn't have a lot to do with this video. Rick was the main guy on this one, and he did the he was in anyway, I'll roll the clip and we'll have a look, and I'll have a little bit of work to do on my my new mosaic here. I know 50% of you are going to give me grief for this being on screen, but 1 second. You see, if I had started with that one, the other 50% would be giving me grief. So I made this mosaic. Someone suggested I should make this mosaic, so I did. And when I brought it to market, I almost sold it. Somebody wanted to buy it, and they may be back at the next one. Sailmakers Market every third Sunday of the month. So of course I have to make the other one now. And that's what I do. I come down here every morning and work on my whatever I'm working on. Usually do like an hour working on mosaic or something. And so we have to do this one today. Not today. It's going to take several days because I only do a little bit every day. And that's what I want to do. I want to come down here and work on these things and react to some videos. So let's get Rick's video going here, and I can have a sip of tea.
That's Manchester Library in front of me. And directly across the road is the Friends Meeting House. Hi.
So I was just checking the stream there to make sure everything was working okay. And so I haven't been able to listen to the video. But this is the Friends Meeting House in Manchester, the Quaker Meeting House. And Rick doesn't mention it here, but this is something we've talked about on Wicked Acorn before. The Friends Meeting House is the only remaining part of Manchester that was witness to Peterloo, and the wall that surrounds the Friends Meeting House. A lot of people were crushed up against the wall of this building at the Peterloo massacre. So I just thought I'd throw that tidbit in.
Rick, and welcome back to another one of my videos. I'm here in Manchester, just behind the Central Library, to visit the Quaker Meeting House behind me and its former burial grounds. This is an amazing story of a graveyard being totally removed over a period of 12 months and the remains placed in a new location in Sale, 5 miles down the road. Some graves remain here and around the building, but the Jackson Road Deesgate graves were totally removed, and we'll take you down there shortly. At the side of the Quaker house here in Manchester, there are some graves that were originally put here, and because they weren't under threat, like the graves at the bottom of Jackson's Row, they still remain in situ now. This burial ground is one of the oldest in Manchester. It was open for burials in the last quarter of the 17th century and was in use until 1847. Like the burial ground on Granbury Row, this burial ground also fell victim to grave snatchers. In 1828, a local man named John Massey entered the burial ground and stole the body of Mary Howcroft. He was later apprehended and sentenced to 3 months in prison. 30 years.
Isn't that something? Body snatchers. It was a real thing, body snatching. Gosh, I mean, I guess some of it was, stealing grave goods, but some of it was for anatomical, people, doctors learning how to, learning the inner workings of the human body. And it's something we touched on with Dr. Charles White and the Manchester mummy. He wasn't a body snatcher, but yeah, the only way you could get a body for dissection was a criminal, someone who was executed, and that was the only legal way you could get a body for dissection. So there was a demand. So somebody met the demand for bodies. Pretty weird.
After the final body was interned in this cemetery, the bodies were excavated from this site in 1878 and the land was redeveloped. The former burial ground lies underneath this building, 201 Deansgate. This is Jackson's Row today. As you can see, it slopes uphill towards the Quaker house up there, and as you go down Jackson's Row, it runs towards Deansgate over there. It's hard to imagine that all these bodies and cemeteries were placed here. Deansgate was massively busy. I can imagine it being cobbled, and right next to it here was a cemetery. It's a totally different city now. You can still see the cobbles in the road, which ran all the way up Jackson's Row. In 1901, Century Buildings was erected on this site of the former burial grounds. By 1953, the site was once again empty, possibly a victim of bombings in the Second World War. In 1847, it was the height of the Industrial Revolution. The city was growing fast, and land where the Quaker burials was under threat of being built upon, and the memory of the graves becoming another lost part of Manchester's history and gone forever. This is the top end of Jackson Row, heading away from Deansgate. It gently slopes uphill. There's a lot of construction happening right now, and I wonder if anything ever turned up in this area. As we continue to walk up the slopes, you can see the old buildings that are hidden by the modern buildings that surround Manchester now. This is the top end of Jackson's Row. Directly in front of me is South Mill Street. And the building that's now in front of me is where the old Quaker house is. The whole of the ground inside the walls was excavated to a depth of 11 feet more or less. The total number of disinterments was 702. The contents of each grave were carefully collected together and placed in varnished boxes. The boxes were removed in the early hours of the morning, once a week, in a covered van and placed in a brick vault. The boxes being placed in rows corresponding with those from which they were taken. 1 copper and 2 lead coffins were also found. They must have been very important people because they were very expensive at the time. This is a remarkable story of the Quakers taking the remains of their past friends and reinterning them to a new site 5 miles down the road in Sale. Let's continue the story on Park Road in Sale, just outside Sale's town centre.
So that's I'm responding to some comments here. That's why Manchester University, that's why their color is purple, a mix of red and blue. Is that true? That's very interesting if that's true. And Manchester actor, from A to B, is a Manchester actor and performed at the Quaker House many years ago. The one in Manchester, I assume you're talking about. That's the only one that's been on screen, so that must be the one you mean. I've never been inside it. It's a lovely building, and yeah, there's some amazing history there, isn't there?
Welcome back. I'm here with Paul from Wiki Acorn. Everyone recognises Paul from his videos around Sale and around the area of Manchester. Well, we're here outside the Quaker Meeting House in Sale on Park Road, just off Ashton Lane near Sale Town Centre. There are thousands of practising Quakers in Britain, with around 500 meetings around the country. Today, 17 Quaker meeting houses across England have been celebrated through listings. Hertford is the home of the earliest surviving purpose-built Quaker meeting house in the world, and it's still in use today. It was built in 1670 and its listing status upgraded to 1 in recognition of its exceptional significance. Unfortunately, the meeting house behind us here has not got listed status, but hopefully in the future it will gain listing. If you look at the entrance here, it runs in a horseshoe shape right round to the meeting house here and out of the grounds, and basically could be Sale's first one-way system. Shortly we're going to meet some kind people to tell us about the meeting house and the history of the grounds. And we'll also see where the grave interments from Manchester were finally laid to rest.
The Quakers have come up. What lovely people. We get to meet them here now in a minute. Some of the members, friends in Sale, and what lovely people. And the Quakers keep coming up in my research about many places now destroyed. Yeah, that's unfortunate, isn't it? We're losing a lot of heritage. That's responding to a comment from A to B, filmed in many films in the Northwest. Yeah, there's a lot of history being destroyed, isn't there? Yeah, the Quakers keep coming up time and time again in things I'm researching here. And I had another video I was going to show you there, but I think we'll look at that tomorrow, about the Shakers in America. And the Shakers kind of evolved out of the Quakers. And the Shakers was something I don't know anything about the Shakers or the Quakers until after this meeting we have in this video. And yeah, the Shakers were, the founder of the Shakers was from Manchester, coincidentally. So yeah, Anne Lee is the mother of Shakerism, I guess you call it, in America, and she was from Manchester. But Quakers keep coming up time and time again in research. They were very, very influential people in world history, not just the history of Manchester. In world history, they were very influential people, very, very practical people. Have a look. It just keeps coming up again and again. Quakers and their practicality is one of their main things with Quakers. Very interesting. So Chris, when was the meeting hall built?
There's a fairly easy answer to that. There is the notice. It says AD 1856.
Chris, thanks for that. Could you just tell us, this is from the outside of the building, I believe that this was the stables. So would you said this was the entrance?
The entrance was here, yes. And I think these windows didn't exist. It wasn't glass. I think that goes into our kitchen now. Yeah.
So this side goes into the kitchen there. So potentially there was a door. There was a larger window here.
Yes, I don't know. Have you photographed the Swift boxes?
Tell us about it.
We've been approached to ask if we could have some Swift boxes because they're called Swifts. Are fewer in number, and this is going to try and link to come.
And when did you get your sign put up? A long time to get the sign put up, but you know,
Yes.
it's the first thing you see when you come in here. It's you know, it's
Yes.
inspiring.
I don't know. I mean, several years ago, maybe 3 or something like that.
And this building's next to the meeting house. What's its current use, or what did it used to be?
It's called the cottage now. It was there for the caretaker meeting for as long as I can remember. It's been a dwelling house.
Oh, looks like the audio has gone out of sync here.
And it's let out.
Thank you.
This just shows you when the burial ground was started. If you look along the edge, there are stones with letters on, and if you go along the other way, there are numbers, so that each grave has a letter and a number, and there's a map recording where people were buried. The stones were all moved to the edge here in the 1960s, 70s, in order to make it easier to maintain the mown of the grass.
So the stones are not where the bodies are buried. They've been moved for convenience.
Are the bodies still on site here somewhere?
On the site somewhere, yes.
In the grass, and
there's a map that shows along with this.
And there are 4 squares up there.
That is a very interesting question. If you could be anyone in Manchester history, who would you be? Never thought about that before, but I certainly would not be a child at Quarry Bank, Quarry Bank Mill. I don't think that's where I'd want to be. I think I'd rather be Samuel Gregg, which Astrex mentions here, is the Gregg family at Quarry Bank Mill were Quakers, I believe. Yeah, I believe you're right. They were very industrious people. I don't know if Quakerism was the industry or the industry made them Quakers. I think Quakers were very industrious, I think. They're very, very practical people. And we'll talk a little bit about that. If I could, yeah, who would I be in Manchester history? If I could be anyone in Manchester history, I wouldn't be one of the working class, because I had enough of being working class.
Have these stones that indicate where people are buried. There isn't anybody buried in this patch of grass here, which is 2019. Chris, you should explain about the months.
Yes.
so I'm looking at the way that the graves are dated. They're dated differently to what I think we're traditionally used to. So I see it's died the 20th of the 6th month 2019, and rather than doing 20th
It's a standard standard words for everyone, and this is to do with equality. And perhaps this is the most obvious feature of this burial ground. Everyone gets the same word, their name, the month, and the date when they died, and how old they were when they died. And that's all. Everybody's exactly the same, however much money you might have had in life.
Looking at the flowers, because we're now in early May, I just see a line of forget-me-nots. Was that something that you put in there yourselves?
I would like to think so, but I have no idea how they got here. Maybe some of the others do. Well, it's a good idea anyway. Yeah. We should do it next year.
Yeah. I visited Manchester yesterday, and the story of the graves being taken from Manchester, brought all the way 5 miles to this rural land as it was then.
Just want to pause there for a second because it looks like it's getting out of sync there. If you've been following along this adventure, I've had a lot of trouble getting this to work because my computers and hardware are so old.
And someone felt as though they had to do that. I believe that they're buried over in this section here.
Yes.
Do you mind if we go and have a look?
Okay, and I've got some of the description that was made about how it got here.
Fantastic. Hi Chris, yes, I spent an hour yesterday up near Jackson's Row, where these burials were taken from central Manchester and brought here. What was the sense of why you thought that they needed to do that?
Because the government, why we needed to move these bodies from there? Well, because they wanted to develop the land in Deansgate, so they had.
So yeah, that's what it sounds like. There were the reason the graves were moved was because they wanted to develop the land. Practical, really practical. You know, kind of sad to move the graves, but very, very practical decision, isn't it?
Be some, they would call it resting place, I'm sure, for the bodies. But there's an account in the local history section of the Central Library, and I've taken bits of this which describes what happened, and I've really enjoyed that. You will see that there's numbers and there's letters, and that shows where each of these burials were put. So you can see the place where each body was buried. All right, the work was commenced on the 29th of the 9th month in 1876, and it was completed in 1877. I'm just going to say that the whole of the ground inside the walls in Deansgate was evacuated to a depth of 11 feet more or less, and the certainty of no remains being left in the Deansgate site was ensured. The total number of disinterment was 702. The contents of each grave were carefully collected together and placed in varnished oak boxes, the lids being screwed down and the screwed heads being sealed over. Right, and then, this is the bit that I most enjoy, the boxes were removed early in the morning at the end of each week in a covered van to the burial ground at Ashton-on-Mersey, which is what they called this, and deposited in the brick vault for their reception. Okay, so it was rather like a funeral. At the end of each week, they brought bodies that had been put into boxes and here, and they made a very careful note of exactly where they were.
And how long did that work take? I believe it took a year to complete?
Yes, a little less than a year. From September to the following, what's the 5th month?
We're currently in it.
May.
That will be May. So, to take 702 bodies and carefully put them in a place where people can remember them is really respectful. Is that something that
Yes.
the Quakers naturally do?
Be respectful, I'm sure. In a covered van, they put them. It must have been quite a ceremony each day.
Well, it would have been a horse-drawn, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And then 5 miles up the road with cobbles and
And they
just
had
roll.
already excavated this, and they called it a brick vault.
So this basically a vault. So all this land round here, when the site was founded, was all green land. There was none of the natural buildings that we've got today.
No, that's right.
And this stone here, when was that stone placed there? Is it something new? Because it looks relatively old.
I think Margaret got that restep because it deteriorated with the weather. No, that's fairly new now.
No, it's not new. It's been cleaned.
It's
but
been
I do-
cleaned
it's
and
the original.
the writing been made clearer. These are the rows. But then there's nothing living with colour. The numbers go that way, and the letters go that way.
So are these actual graves here? Or are they like,
The bodies are not there.
the bodies are not
The
here?
bodies,
Bodies are in the
this
squares
area.
in the middle.
But
The-
you have to look at the map to find out
Right.
where exactly.
So
if you
if I
want,
wanted to find this person, he might be in
he might be
4H
Yes,
or...
Yeah.
that's exactly. Yes,
Rolling.
10 months, 8 months, and
So these are all children.
these are all children. Yes. This is the one I was trying to remember.
And what's this person's name?
Florence Andrews died in 1907, aged
2 days.
days.
Wow, how sad.
But we haven't learned how to live with cholera nowadays.
So majority of these could be cholera deaths or stillbirths, and
Yes,
No-
just in these days, the death of young children was very common, wasn't it?
yes, it was.
Yes.
So
Okay.
Bradshaw, is that the railway
That's-
Bradshaw?
That's right, the railway man.
He was a Quaker.
He was a Quaker, and everybody expected that when he died, he would be here. But he was in fact in Oslo at the time.
Oh,
And he died there, and there's a memorial to him there. So this is all the Bradshaws that we have here, but they are all members, wife, children of Bradshaw, but not George himself.
he's. I actually had a photo of his headstone, grave marker, whatever, but I forgot to put it in here. And getting that in there quickly is not as easy as you think. But yeah, he's buried in Oslo, died from cholera. I can't believe it. Like in 8 hours, boom, gone. Contracted cholera, showed the first signs of the disease. 8 hours later, dead. Wow, it's just like such a deadly disease. Amazing. But because the disease was so terrible, so catching and so deadly that his body wasn't allowed to leave the country. I don't know if it wasn't allowed to leave the country or it wouldn't be accepted in this country, one or the other or both. And so he's buried in Oslo, and I had a photo of it and it's a fairly simple grave. It's one of those, you know, like, what do you call those things? I want to call it a cenotaph, but it's not a cenotaph. It's a, you know, like Cleopatra's Needle, like obelisk. Yes, you know, maybe a little taller than my height. And at the base, it has the words on it, of course. And I don't know how happy George Bradshaw would have been that it says he died on the 6th of September. And as you just heard there, they don't use the dates. They don't use the months of the year. They don't use the months or the days of the year, week, because all those things are named after pagan gods, which we talked about before. Wednesday is named after Woden. Friday is named after the Norse god Frigg or Freya. We're not sure if it's Frigg Day or Freya Day. Yeah, so they're all named after pagan gods usually. You know, January is Janus, and anyway, so the Quakers don't use those months and days that we speak of normally. It's the first day of the week, first day of the month, etc.
He was out of the country. Lucy was presumably a daughter. She died at the age of 18. Wonder what happened.
Any number of things in that era.
Yes.
So, walking around the site, I see all the graves and the children's graves at the top, and the interment graves up here. But I didn't actually see that there were cremations here as well. When was the first cremation here?
The first cremation here was 1940, but there was some considerable discussion about having columbarium, and there's obviously it's now full. So very recently, this last week, we interred the ashes of somebody up in the area near where the children's graves are. So people are, because cremation is so much more popular these days, people are either having their ashes scattered here or interred. Though some people choose to have their ashes scattered anywhere, so it doesn't have to be in this ground.
No, that's great, because everything is all neat and all laid out, and it all looks as it's got a purpose. So
yeah, well, the grounds are maintained by volunteers, so it's been really quite difficult to keep it under control. The burial ground was 1856. The cottage was for the caretaker, who would be present here to open up the meeting house if there was burial, because between 1856 and 1860 there wasn't a regular meeting for worship. It wasn't until 1860 that the first regular meeting for worship was held here.
And that's the cottage behind you with the stone on there, the AD 56.
Yes, exactly.
As you see, this garden has been very well tended. It takes a lot of work, and also the mowing of the grass, which is done by volunteers at the moment. Friends have been rather short of money during the COVID period, because the number of rentings of rooms has dropped considerably, but things are on the up now.
Thank you very much for inviting me and Paul here today. It's been fascinating, and when the wider public sees and hears about your work, they'll be as surprised as I was. So thank you all for your time. I consider you a friend already. So that's brilliant. So I look forward to coming to one of your meetings one day.
I'd be
when I'm not working. I work 6-7 days a week, but really appreciate them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will put a link to that video and Rick's channel in there, and it's great that I can react to Rick's video. And I mean, somebody reacted to one of my videos. There was a guy somewhere in the States reacted to a video that I made about Abraham Lincoln, the Abraham Lincoln statue in Manchester. Yes, the Cadburys, the Fries, the Roundtrees, I believe they were all Quakers too. Yeah, everywhere you look, there are Quakers in history. They're very, very influential people in industry and the history of the world, as I said. They played heavily into the founding of America, apparently. They keep coming up in history everywhere I look. But yeah, it's great to be able to react to these videos. And as I mentioned, yeah, somebody reacted to one of my videos, and there's a whole, it's so weird, because I almost got a copyright strike reacting to another video, and it really pissed me off because there are so many channels out there doing reaction videos. Anyway, it's a problem with doing it live. That and if you follow any music on YouTube, like Justin Hawkins and Rick Beato and Danny Sapko, these guys have formed like a little trio of anti-copyright content claiming, and it's terrible. It's terrible because there's a whole thing in YouTube that notifies you if somebody's using your content. And somebody did a reaction video to one of my videos, and I never got any notification that they had done it. I didn't mind. I was chuffed that somebody was doing a reaction video to one of my videos. I mean, even if he had panned it and you know, said it was terrible and I looked like an idiot or whatever, I still wouldn't care. You know, go ahead. Um, it's it's educational. If you want to react, you know, some reaction videos are not educational. They're just, oh wow, that's really cool. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You know, like I stopped worrying about copyright when I bought my 6th copy of the White Album. It's like, do I really have to pay these guys another? You know, it's like, it's time to, I don't think Paul McCartney needs any more money from the White Album. Anyway, uh, yeah, so, you know, but Rick will get no notification that I've reacted to his video. There will be no takedown or copyright claim or copyright strike because I'm reacting to one of Rick's videos. But don't touch the Beatles and don't touch whoever the video was. It was, what's her name? Alice Roberts, is it? The history presenter. No, it's not her. It's the company that owns the thing, right? And yeah, if somebody's taking it and just putting it there so you can watch it without any added information or anything, just, you know, ripping it off so you can watch it without a Netflix subscription or whatever, that's not fair. But you know, I think what I just did then adds value to Rick's video, you know, and somebody will go watch Rick's videos or subscribe to Rick's channel because I've done this, or somebody will subscribe to my channel because somebody else reacted to my video. Anyway, it's terrible, and it's they don't care about the small guys. They don't. YouTube doesn't care about the small guys having their content reused and reacted to. They don't care about that. They only care about the big guys. You know, anyone that might sue them for letting someone else use their content. Anyway, enough of that. It's another lovely day, and I've got work to do, and I need to get back to it. So, all I can say is see you in the next one, I guess.